What's going on, everybody? It's Lester from Cannabis Wiki. Welcome to Weed Talks. Here's where we talk to people inside the cannabis industry and the community, find out who they are and what they're up to. You know, I am here at home under quarantine. I just want everybody to know across the globe that everybody at Cannabis Wiki is thinking about everybody through this adverse time that we're all going through. You're in our thoughts, you're in our hearts, you're definitely on our minds. So everybody stay strong out there. That being said, I want everybody to know that there's still issues that were on the table that were very important to just health in all its senses before COVID-19. So that being said, I'd like to introduce my next guest that I have today. I have the president and CEO of CFAMM, also the director of BMC, Gerald Major. Gerald, what's going on, my friend?
Good, Lester. How are you?
I'm doing very good. How are you and the family making it through this adverse time?
Yeah, we are. I mean, it's a very difficult time. It's a challenging time. I mean, I went through this with SARS a little bit when I was working. So now this is a bit different for us. I've got a compromised immune system, so it's kind of lockdown for us. But I feel good about the next few weeks, actually, just getting back to some kind of normalcy after you process kind of what's happening.
Right. That's you and everybody else, that's for sure. So why don't you tell us a little bit, and everybody, what is CFAMM and BMC, and what is it that they do inside of the cannabis space?
So both are we's. I mean, I'm a grassroots advocate, right? I'm a volunteer advocate who's also a patient. So I mean, those are the types of organizations that I get involved in. So CFAMM is Canadians for Fair Access to Medical Marijuana, and we advocate for patients' rights across the country. We've just released some recent stuff recently. I mean, with COVID happening now, as you know, a majority of people access their medication, or a majority of medical cannabis patients access their cannabis through mail order directly from manufacturers. So there's kind of, from an essential business perspective, there's been an issue for patients, and then from making sure that it continues to be coded as a essential business in operation, just like other medications would be. And then, and I mean, we're doing a relaunch now. Plus, patients have issues with mail at this time. Mail's a little bit slower, so
Yeah, definitely.
What's happened nationally is that everything's been allowed to continue as is right now. So we're hoping that's still the case.
Okay.
And then the Best Medicine Coalition, that's kind of, think of CFAMM from a non-cannabis perspective. That's the group that I landed at before I found cannabis, or I found CFAMM, is because the Best Medicine Coalition, we advocate for basically every single medication that every single Canadian takes. We advocate for the supply of it, the right treatment, right patient, right time. We talk about not only medications, but non-pharmaceutical treatment options, different services.
Okay.
And then for the most part, we make sure that patients have access to the medications that they need, no matter your postal code, your financial status, et cetera, et cetera. So big times right now, both patient organizations, patient-run, patient-driven, and both with great and equal mandates.
So both of these CFAMM and BMC, they're for every Canadian throughout the country that's in need of medical.
Correct. I mean, and certain issues, depending on what they are. I mean, we're dealing with importation of drugs, pharmaceutical drugs, into the U.S. right now. So a lot of the things that would threaten supply of drugs, be it cannabis or pharmaceutical drugs, the Best Medicine Coalition gets kind of involved in. So that then brings us internationally, and as we know, disease doesn't have borders, so we don't think of it like that. So in the fact that we advocate for country rules, national rules, provincial rules, that kind of thing, we also share our information and experiences globally.
Excellent. Wow. So we've gotten to know each other through this new year, and knowing a little bit about you, tell us a little bit about your medical condition that you're suffering from, and what is the diagnosed medical treatment, and what is the timeline for that?
Yeah, I don't know that a lot of people have heard this completely from me, so we'll just kind of start from the beginning. I'll go fast because there's a lot. But basically all of it stems from a compromised immune system, which is why kind of in light of COVID right now, I'm someone that should be protected and actually safe and remain indoors as much as possible. Right. But everything stems from that compromised immune system. My flavor of choice just tends to be spondyloarthritis. That's a family of 5 different types of arthritis that primarily affect your back. So my immune system attacks itself. So all the cartilage protecting my joints and my bones, it starts wearing those down. And then you end up with fusions that have your fingers and hands and knees and hips and shoulders and toes and ankles, wow. Pretty much everything that you can imagine. And then you end up rolling in that because it's such a complex form of arthritis, you end up adding in a lot of comorbidities. So right now my eye's flaring, got a little bit of iritis, which is arthritis in the iris, swollen inflammation.
Wow.
You get the skin stuff, so I've got skin psoriasis. And then of course, once you pick up a few of these chronic illnesses when you're young, you get to mental health. Right? Back when that became an issue. In my teens and my early 20s, there wasn't very many tools back then for it. So you get some mental health really as it relates to chronic illness.
Wow, this is that's a lot, my friend. Mostly, like, just from looking at you look fine, other than when you put your hands up to see the actual physical damage that's going on there. So I could only imagine how this has impacted you, how this has impacted your family. I'd like to show a little video clip just to give everybody a little insight, a little bit into your life. So everybody stay tuned. Have a look at this.
So the setbacks for me in life came at 14 years old. That's when I was supposed to be doing a lot of things that I was not able to do. I started experiencing symptoms of swelling in my knees, a lot of throbbing pain, sort of impacted your sleep, your activity, your work, my sports back then. I thought my life was over, to be honest. My diagnosis of psoriatic arthritis came in my 30s when I started showing signs of psoriasis. Pretty much every joint in my body was inflamed.
Psoriatic arthritis is a type of inflammatory arthritis that affects up to a third of the patients with psoriasis. Psoriatic arthritis can affect the joints as well as the spine or the tendons and tendon insertions to the bone. There are several risk factors for the development of psoriatic arthritis among psoriasis patients. Severe psoriasis increases the chances of developing this disease, as well as the presence of psoriatic nail lesions such as pitting or separation of the nail from the nail bed. Those increase the risk.
The psoriatic arthritis symptoms that I experienced at a young age were swelling and pain and discomfort and loss of range of motion. It was very peripheral focused, so all my knees, my shoulders, my ankles, my elbows. You have to have an attitude that when you're in ground zero, there's nowhere but up.
Overall, about 1 in 400 Canadians are affected by psoriatic arthritis. Patients can be their own advocates by reading information from reliable sources. Patients should have rheumatologists that they see on a regular basis to improve the care of psoriatic arthritis overall.
Psoriatic arthritis took me out of work at the young age of 34 years old, so I spent 4 years very depressed. The next year I started putting in the work mentally to try to be balanced in physical and mental, and that's where I found Advocacy. I've always worried about others quite a bit, and this is a chance for me to be able to give back and share my journey. My life has really improved since I prioritized my mental and physical well-being. The drugs that I was taking at the time, it made it difficult for us to conceive, so my daughter is a product of adoption, which is great. I mean, these are the blessings that you get within illness. To be your own advocate, I think you need to look within your support system. Talking about your challenges with those that get it can just be so therapeutic. Reach out to national organizations like the Canadian Spondylitis Association. You know best what's wrong with yourself, so if you're having issues that aren't explained, then keep pushing, and if it's not that physician, then it's another one. But every person with chronic illness deserves to live an optimal life.
I think the new guidelines for psoriatic arthritis are important. They really highlight the importance of early treatment of psoriatic arthritis, which can help control signs and symptoms of the disease and prevent joint damage from occurring, ultimately improving long-term outcomes of patients. Treatment options are adjusted for every patient. With advances in our understanding of psoriatic arthritis and availability of effective medications, patients can now live normal life, go back to work, and enjoy high quality of life like normal individuals.
I didn't think that getting back to physical health and mental well-being was possible. I didn't think having a family was possible. So what would I say to someone recently diagnosed with psoriatic arthritis? Psoriatic arthritis will not define you.
Man, just to think about how we all feel right now going through this COVID-19, because it's something that none of us have ever faced before. I don't know what to say. I'm kind of speechless. I guess what I'd like to know is, what was your mental state like from the beginning and going through all of this throughout your life? And where did you find the strength to bring you to where you are right now?
Yeah, that's a loaded question. So I mean, let's do it in segments, I guess. Let's say 14 years old, you're heavily involved in athletics. You're doing track and field, both short distance, long distance, triple jump, high jump. You're playing rep hockey. Right. Basically, every single thing that you touched, you could actually do and do well. I was fast. I was a runner, so my cardio was always good, and those were my strengths. Well, I'm back there now, so let's say 14 and all that stuff starts crumbling down before you even start to look at what you're going to do for university, right? I was going through university with my knees flaring like massively, and so painful. So as you're going through all these stages in life, and I guess it's the support and my friends and my networking. I'm a people person, so anytime I'm around people, I can usually figure out how to blend in, but I get a lot from that. I learn from that. I form opinion from that. So I think that's probably what kind of kept me on track. My family, all my friends back then at the time. But it was a troubling time, and I had the invisible illness or the invisible disease that was arthritis. Right. And then coupling that with mental health that didn't even really know that there was a mental health issue at the time.
So when were you diagnosed with this?
My diagnosis was ankylosing spondylitis early on, and it was later found that it was not just ankylosing spondylitis, it was also psoriatic arthritis. So
when were you diagnosed with that?
Psoriatic arthritis is peripherals. So this is inflammation in my joints where they just start fusing together. So sometimes you get lucky and they fuse in a decent spot, but other times if they're fusing wrong, then it's certainly painful, especially because all of my extremities were impacted, starting from the knees and then bang into the toes and feet and ankles and subtalar, all your midfoot, everything. So that's the invisible illness at that age when you're doing those things and still in denial that it's really happening and still trying to mask everything. So still participating in everything that you're doing and still trying to do it well.
Right.
But inside really just struggling. So, that's kind of where your head's at as a young male. I later found out by a health psychologist, one of the best in Canada, that for young men diagnosed with psoriatic arthritis, when you add in psoriasis, which I have, that population of young men with that disease, the suicide rates in that population should be a national health crisis. So that gives you kind of some perspective that I learned later on down the road in my advocacy efforts. I start speaking to people that can now explain some things to me that were happening back then. And then you start to understand kind of a lot about what your disease has brought. So, I mean, my journey's not over. It's far from finished. It's certainly started and has purpose now. But those little things at the right time, I mean, they can help to explain a lot of things that happened in the past. I mean, I think we all look back on things that we've done in life and how we've treated people and et cetera, et cetera. And then when you can understand that there's a little bit more to it than that, there's a whole lot of mental health stuff in that. There's chronic disease. You're a young man. And I mean, you're just a young person in general. You're supposed to be building a family, you're supposed to be doing well at work. That's when you're building a career. So I happen to be lucky and built a strong career in that short period of time. But I mean, that soon came to an end as well.
You had to have been mentally troubled. Like, were you getting any support?
I'm still mentally troubled. I'm still. I mean, let's be real. I mean, every single day I'm mentally struggled by this, right? Either by my condition through the life events. This COVID thing for me took me really 2 weeks. I've got flaring arthritis right now, so kind of that gets me down. But I mean, it took me kind of like a full 2 weeks to really digest and process a lot of what's happening and actually what we're going to do about it. Mm-hmm. And then I take things in personally. I mean, I'm an empath, a high sensitive person. That's why I advocate for people. So that kind of stuff, it wears on me, right? It takes me a while to process. So I mean, I think I have a plan right now that works for me, just kind of like I've built in my life around my disease, all my exercise, my nutrition, the people I speak with, my advisors, my mentors. I mean, I've assembled teams of probably 50 people that are impactful to what I've done, while still recognizing that not everyone in Canada has these types of people at their disposal or people that they can in their network. So. And that's then blended why you advocate. Every advocate that becomes an advocate, generally speaking, they're doing it because they've had a really shitty journey, right? And they've figured something out. They've figured some things that work, right? So my objective in life now after this disease, first of all, blessings in disguise. Disease took me out of something that I really didn't have a passion for, financial industry and money. I mean, they meant things to me, but not like this.
And that was your last existing job?
Yeah, I was senior vice president at Citibank. I ran hedge fund services operations North America. And I'm the guy that started the outsourcing into India before it was really started. Back when Slumdog Millionaire was playing, I mean, that was me and a team of 9 that went out to Chennai, India for 9 months to move a bunch of jobs over there. So, I mean, all of this is happening within my disease, right? So every single time, this is maybe why I can split things out and compartmentalize things pretty well, because I've had to live, you know, my suppressed athletic kind of thing has had to be parked for a while. My career as a banker, as a financial services person, as a people manager is kind of gone. So everything kind of had to fit in compartments. So, I mean, that's probably what makes me more effective now.
Well, you know what? There's a lot to tell because we still have to get into about how cannabis is helping you. We want to get into a little bit about the advocacy point that you're taking, and definitely want to hear about Project Wellness. So I'm going to break this into 2 parts. We're definitely going to get back together. I want to let the people know the second half of your story, to get the message out, to see what CFAMM's doing, to see what BMC is also doing in the space of cannabis and for yourself. So my friend, thank you very much for taking the time right now to talk to everybody and share the first part of your story. There's so much more that they need to hear about. So I definitely look forward to talking to you very soon to get part 2 out.
Yeah, man, you as well. Be well, and you know, find your journey. Everyone's going to find their journey in this, and we'll find some positives that come out of this horrible global crisis.
Definitely. Once again, Gerald Major, President and CEO of CFAMM, Director of BMC. My good friend, take it easy and you have a good night and stay safe. Wash your hands and stay the F home.
All right, buddy. Take care.
All right. See you later.